Moral story is pretty. Ghulam Hussain and the Game of Chance. Ghulam Hussain was a popular social figure and been and a keen host of guests coming to him from distant lands. He lived in Moshi, a beautiful small town at the foot of the Mr. Kumro in Tanzania. He was generous and hospitable to one and all. One of his hobbies during leisure hours, particularly on Saturdays and Sundays, was to play the game of the cards with his friends. For hours, they used to get together. They enjoyed the game. It was not with the aim of gambling, but just rather to please and pass time. Once, in the midst of the lovely game of cards, his servant came to inform him that the guest of his was seriously ill at the guest's house and needed his immediate attention. He sent the servant back saying he would come soon, but he was so engrossed in to withdraw from it, so he continued to play with keen interest. After a while, his servant came again to report that the condition of the guest was deteriorating and needed that urgent attention as there was no one else to attend. But Gulay Sham was so deeply engrossed in the game that he did not want to be disturbed. As such, again he sent the servant back promising to come soon. By the time he could be free from the very mind-captivating game of cards, the servant came for the third time, but this time he reported that the guest of his was poor traveller from distant lands had already died. This news gave shock of his life to Gulay Shah. It convinced him that of the evil and harmful effect of such an indoor game. There and then he vowed never to indulge himself in such a game. Is this not an eye-opening example of an intoxicating and mentally distracting game of cards, commonly played today either as a pastime or for gambling purposes? Perhaps it also explains the philosophy behind the absolute Islamic forbiddance to play or watch such a game, even without a chance of gaining or losing money. It is a meant to be prevention than a cure, lest man in one day tempted to use the game for gambling purpose. Abstention from sins is better than seeking help afterwards. Got it? Finders, keepers. A wise woman who was traveling in the mountain found a precious stone in a stream. The next day she met another traveler who was hungry. The wise woman opened her bag and shared her food. The hungry traveler saw the precious stone and asked the woman to give it to him. She did so without hesitation. The traveler left rejoicing his good fortune. Knew the stone was worth enough to give him security for a lifetime. But a few days later he came back to return the stone to the wise woman. I have been thinking, I know how valuable the stone is, but I give it back in the hope that you give me something even more precious. Give me what you have within you that enabled you to give me the stone. Give me what you have within you that enabled you to give me the stone. La la la, so pretty. Bandage of complaint. Once a saint saw a man with a bandage tied round his head. Why have you tied the bandage? Because my head aches. How old are you? 30. Have you been in pain and anguish the greater part of your life? No. For 30 years, you have enjoyed good health and you have never bandaged of thankfulness. Now, because of this one night headache, you tied the bandage of complaint. Mm-hmm. God, Lord, you never tied the bandage of thankfulness. Now, because of this one night headache, you tied the bandage of complaint. An aged student. Sikaki was a skilled artist and artisan. With great expertise and interest, he made such a nice and beautiful ink pot that it could be presented to the king. He expected that appreciating his artistic skill, the king would encourage him as far as possible. So with the countless hopes and thousands of desires, he presented the ink pot to the king. In the beginning, the king was very impressed by his artistic work, but afterwards an unpleasant event occurred that caused an extraordinary change in Sikaki, the life and way of thinking. When the king was observing the skilled artistry of the beautiful ink pot and Sikaki was lost in the world of thoughts, the people informed that the scholar, literary person or the jury is about to enter the court. As soon as the scholar entered, the king got so much absorbed in welcoming and talking to him that he forgot Sikaki and his skilled artistry. This incident caused an adverse and deep effect on the heart of Sikaki. He realized that now he would not receive the encouragement he had expected, and all his desires and hopes are useless now. But Sikaki's high-spirited mind did not allow him to be in peace, so he started thinking as to what he should do. He decided to do what others have done and go on the same way that the others have gone up till now. Therefore, he decided to search for his lost hopes in the world of knowledge, literature, and the books. Although, for a wise man who has passed the days of his young age, it was not easy to study with young children and to start right from the preliminary stage. But he did not have a choice. After all, whenever the fish is taken out of water, it is fresh. Worse than that, in the beginning, he did not find any sort of interest in himself regarding reading or writing. Perhaps spending a long time in artistic works and handicraft was the reason for his stagnancy in his scientific and literary talent. But neither his advanced age nor lack of capability, none of these could change his decision. With great enthusiasm and zeal for attaining knowledge, he strictly got busy with his studies until another incident occurred. The teacher who was teaching him Fake Shafis taught him this lesson. The teacher believes that the skin of the dog becomes clean after tanning. Sekaki repeated this sentence a lot of times so that at the time of the examination he would be able to succeed. But when he was asked to answer this question, he said the dog believes that the skin of a teacher becomes clean after tanning. The audience, upon hearing this answer, started laughing. It was clear for everybody that this old man is absolutely incapable of reading and writing. After this incident, Shakaki not only left the school, but he left the town and went over the jungle. By chance, he reached the foot of a mountain where he saw that the water is falling drop by drop from top, and due to continuous falling of water, the hole has been formed in that hard stone. He reflected for some time. A good idea crossed his mind like lightning. He said, maybe my heart is not ready to accept knowledge, but it is not harder than this stone. It is impossible that continuous studying and hard work would be ineffective. Therefore, he came back, and with hard work, he got busy in the attainment of knowledge. As a result, he was reckoned as one of the popular scholars of his time. You never be too old to learn something new. You never be too old to learn something new. Wealth, love, success. A woman came out of her house and saw three old men with long white beards sitting in her front yard. She did not recognize them. She said, I don't think I know you, but you must be hungry. Please come in and have something to eat. Is the man of the house home? They asked. No, he's out. Then we cannot come in. In the evening, when her husband came home, she told them what had happened. Go tell them I'm home and invite them in. The woman went out and invited the men in. We do not go into the house together. Why is that? One of the old men explained. His name is Wealth. Pointing to the one of his friends, he said, pointing to the other, he's Success and I'm Love. Then added, now go in and discuss with your husband which one of you want in your home. The woman went in and told her husband what was said. Her husband was overjoyed. How nice! Since that is the case, let us invite Wealth. Let him come and fill our home with wealth. My dear, why don't we invite Success? The wife disagreed. Their daughter-in-law was listening from the other corner of the house. She jumped in with her own suggestion. Would it not be better to invite Love? Our home will then be filled with love. Let us heed our daughter-in-law's advice. Go out and invite Love to be our guest. The woman went out and asked the three old men, which one of you is Love? Please come in and be our guest. Love got up and started walking toward the house. The other two also got up and followed him. Surprised, the lady asked, Wealth and Success, I only invited Love. Why are you coming in? The old men replied together. If we had invited Wealth and Success, the other two of us would have stayed out. But since you invited Love, wherever he goes, we go with him. Wherever there is love, there is also wealth and success. La la la, so sweet. Love and time. Once upon a time, there was an island where all the feelings lived: happiness, sadness, knowledge, and all of the other, including love. One day it was announced to the feelings that the island would sing. So all constructed boats and left except for Love. Love was the only one who stayed. Love wanted to hold out until the last possible moment. When the island had almost sunk, Love decided to ask for help. Richness was passing by Love in a grand boat. Love said, Richness, can you take me with you? Richness answered, no, I can't. There's a lot of gold and silver in my boat. There is no place here for you. Love decided to ask Vanity, who was also passing by in a beautiful vessel. Vanity, please help me. I can't help you, love. You all wait and might damage my boat, Vanity answered. Sadness was close by, so Love asked, Sadness, let me go with you. Oh, Love, I'm so sad that I need to be by myself. Happiness paused by Love. Too, but she was so happy that she did not even hear when Love called her. Suddenly there was a voice, Come, Love, I'll take you. It was an elder. She, so pleased and overjoyed, Love even forgot to ask the elder where they were going. When they arrived at the right land, the elder went on his way, realizing how much was owed to the elder. Love asked Knowledge, another elder, who helped me. It was time, Knowledge answered. Time asked Love, but why did you, Time, help me? Knowledge smiled with deep wisdom and answered, because only time is capable of understanding how valuable love is. Because only time is capable of understanding how valuable love is. Always thankful to God. Arthur Ashe, the legendary Wimbledon player, was dying of AIDS. From world over, he received letters from his fans, one of which conveyed, why does God have to select you for such a bad disease? To this, Arthur Ashe replied, the world over. 5 crore children start playing tennis. 50 lakh learn to play tennis. 5 lakh learn professional tennis. 50,000 come to the circuit. 5,000 reach the Grand Slam and 50 reach Wimbledon. 4 to semi-finals, 2 to the finals. When I was holding a cup, I never asked God, why me? And today in pain, I should not be asking God, why me? Be thankful to God for 98% of good things in life. Beautiful. The mayonnaise and the coffee. When things in your life seem almost too much to handle, when 24 hours in a day are not enough, remember the mayonnaise jar and the coffee. A professor stood before the philosophy class and has some items in front of him. When the class began, wordlessly he picked up a very large empty mayonnaise jar and proceeded to fill it with golf balls. He then asked the students if the jar was full. They agreed that it was. So the professor then picked up a box of pebbles and poured out them into the jar. He shook the jar lightly. The pebbles rolled into the open areas between the golf balls. He then asked the students again if the jar was full. They agreed it was. The professor next picked up the box of sand and poured it into the jar. Of course, the sand filled up everything else. He asked once more if the jar was full. The student responded unanimous, yes. The professor then produced 2 cups of coffee from under the table and poured the entire contents into the jar, effectively filling the empty space between the sand. The students laughed. Now, said the professor, as the laughter subsided, I want you to recognize that this jar represents your life. The golf balls are the important things: your God, family, your children, your health, your friends, your favorite passions, things that if everything else was lost and if only they remained, your life would still be full. The pebbles are the things that matter, like your job, your house, your car. The sand is everything else, the small stuff. If you put the sand into the jar first, there is no room for the pebbles or the golf balls. The same goes for life. If you spend all your time and energy on the small stuff, you will never have room for the things that are important. Pay attention to the things that are critical to your happiness. Play with your children. Take care of the golf balls, the things that really matter. Set your priorities. The rest is just sand. One of the students raised her hand and inquired what the coffee represented. The professor smiled. I'm glad you asked. It just goes to show that no matter how full your life may seem, there is always room for a couple cups of coffee with her friends. No matter how full your life may seem, there's always room for a couple of cups of coffee with her friends. The bar. A tale is told about a small town that had historically been dry or no alcohol sold, but then a local businessman decided to build a tavern. A group of Christians from the local church were concerned and planned an all-night prayer meeting to ask God to intervene. It just happens that shortly thereafter lightning struck the bar and it turned to the ground. The owner of the bar sued the church, claiming that the prayers of the congregation were responsible, but the church hired a lawyer to argue in court that they were not responsible. The presiding judge, after his initial review of the case, stated that no matter how the case comes out, one thing is clear: the tavern owners believes in prayer and the Christians do not. Lessons on life. There was a man who had 4 sons. He wanted his sons to learn not to judge things too quickly. So he sent them each on a quest in turn to go and look at a pear tree that was a great distance away. The first son went to the winter, the second in the spring, the third in summer, and the youngest son in the fall. When they had all gone and come back, he called them together to describe what they had seen. The first one said that the tree was ugly, bent and twisted. The second said it was covered with green buds and full of promise. The third son disagreed. He said it was laden with blossoms that smelled so sweet and looked so beautiful. It was the most grateful thing he had ever seen. The last son disagreed with all of them. He said it was ripe and drooping with fruit, full of life and fulfillment. The man then explained to his sons that they were all right because they had each seen but only one season in the tree's life. He told them that you cannot judge a tree or a person by only one season, and that the sense of who they are and the pleasure, joy, and the love that come from that life can only be measured at the end when all the seasons are up. If you give up when it is winter, you will miss the promise of your spring, the beauty of your summer, fulfillment of your fall. Don't let the pain of one season destroy the joy of all the rest. Don't judge life by one difficult season. Persevere through the difficult patches, and better times are sure to come sometime or later. The Rose Within. A certain man planted a rose and watered it faithfully, and before it blossomed, he examined it. He saw that the bud would soon blossom, but noticed thorns upon the stem, and he thought, how can any beautiful flower come from a plant burdened with so many sharp thorns? Saddened by this thought, he neglected to water the rose, and just before it was ready to bloom, it died. So it is with many people. Within every soul there is a rose. The good qualities planted in us at birth grow amid the thorns of our falls. Many of us look at ourselves and see only the thorns, the defects. We despair, thinking that nothing good can possibly come from us. We neglect to water the good within us, and eventually it dies. We never realize our potential. Some people do not see the rose within themselves. Someone else must show it to them. One of the greatest gifts a person can possess is to be able to reach past the thorns of another and find the rose within them. This is one of the characteristics of love, to look at a person, know their true faults and accepting that person into your life, all the while recognizing the nobility of their soul. Help others to realize they can overcome their faults. If we show them the rose within themselves, they will conquer their thorns. Only then will they blossom many times over. The most favorable friend to me is that shows me my flaws. The most favorable friend to me is that who shows me my flaws. Put the glass down. The professor began his class by holding up a glass with some water in it. He held it up for all to see and asked the students, how much do you think this glass weighs? 30 grams, 50 grams, 100, 125 grams, the students. I really don't know unless I weigh it. But my question is, what would happen if I held it up this for a few minutes? Nothing. Okay. What would happen if I held it up for an hour? Your arm would begin to ache, said the student. You're right. Now, what would happen if I held it for a day? Your arm could go numb. You might have severe muscle stress and paralysis and have to go to the hospital for sure. Very good. But during all this, did the weight of the glass change? No. Then what caused the arm ache and the muscle stress? Put the glass down, said one of the students. Exactly. Life's problem or something like this. Hold it for a few minutes in your head and you seem okay. Think of them a long time and they begin to ache. Hold it even longer and they begin to paralyze you. You will not be able to do anything. It's important to think of the challenges, problems in your life, but even more important is to have trust in God and put them down in the end of every day before you go to sleep. That way, you're not stressed. You wake up every day fresh and strong and can handle any issue, any challenge that comes your way. So, as it becomes time for you to leave the office today, remember, put the glass down today and have tranquility by putting trust in God. God says he it is who puts down tranquility into the hearts of the believers that they might have more faith added to their faith. Tranquility is a sign of a strong faith, while worries and stress is a sign of weak faith. Tell to your mind every day before you go to sleep, O soul, that is at rest, satisfied, return to your Lord, well pleased with him, well pleasing him. So enter among my servants and into my paradise. By worrying so much, do not turn your life to hell. Good luck. By worrying so much, do not turn your life to hell. Good luck. May I never get too busy in my own affairs. It was a bitter, cold evening. The old man's beard was glazed by winter's frost while he waited for a ride across the river. The wait seemed endless. His body became numb and stiff from the frigid north wind. He heard a faint, steady rhythm of approaching hooves galloping along the frozen path. Anxiously, he watched as several horsemen rounded the bend. He let the first one pass by without an effort to get his attention. Another passed by another, and finally the last rider neared the spot where the old man sat like a snow statue. At this one drew near, the old man caught the rider's eye and said, "Sir, would you mind giving the old man a ride to the other side? There doesn't appear to be a passageway by foot." Reining his horse, the rider replied, "Sure thing, hop aboard." Seeing the old man was unable to lift his frozen body from the ground, the horseman dismounted and helped the old man onto the horse. The horseman took the old man not just across the river but to his destination, which was just a few miles away. As they neared the tiny but cozy cottage, the horseman's curiosity caused him to inquire, "Sir, I noticed that you let several other riders pass by without making an effort to secure the ride. Then I came up and you immediately asked me to ride. I'm curious why on such a bitter winter night you would wait and ask the last rider. What if I had refused and left you there?" The old man lowered himself slowly down from the horse, looked at the rider right straight in the eyes and replied, "I have been around here for some time, I reckon. I know people pretty good." I looked into the eyes of the other riders and immediately saw there was no concern for my situation. It would have been useless even to ask them for a ride, but when I looked into your eyes, kindness and compassion were evident. I knew then and there that your gentle spirit would welcome the opportunity to give me the assistance in my time of need. Those heartwarming comments touched the horseman's deeply. I'm most grateful for what you have said. May I never get too busy in my own affairs that I fail to respond to the needs of others with kindness and compassion. Ya Allah, make me among those about whom the Holy God has said, and they give them preference over their own selves even though they are in need. Wow. And they give them preference over their own selves even though they are in need. Don't we all? I was parked in front of a small white wing of my car mall. I had just come from the car wash and was waiting for my wife to get out of work. Coming my way from across the parking lot was what society would consider a bum. From the looks of him, he had no car, no home, no clean clothes, and no money. There are times when you feel generous, but there are times that you just don't want to be bothered. This was one of those don't want to be bothered times. I hope he doesn't ask me for any money. He came and sat on the curb in front of the bus stop, but he didn't look like he could have enough money to even ride the bus. After a few minutes, he spoke. "That's a very pretty car." He was ragged, but he had an air of dignity around him. His straggly beard keeps more than his face warm. "Thanks." He sat there quietly and asked, "Expected play for money never came. As the silence between us widened, something inside said, ask him if he needs any help. Yes, but I held true to the inner voice. Do you need any help? The answer in three simple but profound words that I shall never forget. We often look for wisdom in great men and women. We expect it from those higher learning and accomplishments. I expected nothing but an outstretched, grimy hand. He spoke the three words that shook me. Don't we all? He said. I was feeling high and mighty, successful and important, above a bum in the street until those three words hit me. Like a 12-gauge shotgun, don't we all? Don't we all? I needed help, maybe not for a bus fare or a place to sleep, but I needed help. I reached in my wallet and gave him not only enough for bus fare, but enough to get a warm meal and shelter for the day. Those three little words still ring true. No matter how much you have, no matter how much you have accomplished, you need help too. No matter how little you have, no matter how loaded you are with problems, even without money or a place to sleep, you can give help. Even if it's just a compliment, you can give that. You never know when you may see someone that appears to have it all. They are waiting on you to give them what they don't have, a different perspective on life, a glimpse at something beautiful, a respite from daily chores that only you through a toned world can see. Maybe the man was just a homeless stranger wandering the streets. Maybe he was more than that. Maybe he was sent by a power that is great and wise to messenger to a soul too comfortable in themselves. Maybe God looked down, called an angel, dressed him like a bum, and then said, go messenger to that man cleaning the car. That man needs help, don't we all? Even a smile can be charity. Peace be upon him. Even a smile can be a charity. Keep smiling. That reminds me, I used to live with an Italian old lady, 85 years old. And on my day off, she will push me out of the house and say, you have... you're very young and hearty, healthy, happy. Go out and bring a smile on 10 people's face before you come back. And I would dress so nicely and take my little dog with me and my business cards and share them. And I was not to come home until I brought smile to 10 people's face. And it became such a ritual for me that every time I would keep a smile on my face, because in New York it is very, very, very difficult to get a smile back from anybody. So I would keep on smiling, keep smiling, smiling until 10 people smile back, and then only I could go home. Sometimes it would take an hour or two or three, and then that habit stayed with me for so many years that when I come to India also, I keep smiling and everybody smiles back to me, and I'm like, wow, this is so much good, And then that taught me the random acts of kindness. I'm like, everybody is so nice. It's here, God, I can go home in 5 minutes. My life has become so easy and so very comfortable and wonderful. Wow, wow, wow. So I would take anything, even anything at all that I could, whether it is fruit or milk or candies or chocolates and crackers or, cookies or whatnot I could get, and I'll share with 10 people and bring a smile to them, their families, and felt connected to 10 people, 10 families, and keep on doing this. And that was like 10 random acts of kindness. And that gave my life so much of purpose and so much peace and happiness and joy, Lord. I'm looking forward to coming to India again. And those random acts of kindness really, really, really helped. And while I'm here in New York, I want to truly... these stories, moral stories that I'm reading, or the poems, and like so much, such great poet seeds, poems, and Guru Granths, and wise, full of wisdom, the quotes, the quotables, the maxims. Oh my God, such great, great material we can share and care and give and bring the smiles to it all. Aha, everything for a smile. So pretty, pretty, pretty. The stranger in the garden. Once upon a time, there was a man who had a big garden, who had planted many fruit trees and cared for them till they bear fruits. Now he wanted to pick up the fruit and sell them to make money for his family. One fine day, while picking the fruits with his son, he saw a stranger sitting on the branch of the tree picking the fruits. This man became angry and shouted, "Hey you, where are you doing on my tree? Aren't you ashamed of stealing fruits in the daytime?" The stranger on the branch looked at the gardener but didn't reply. He continued picking the fruit. The gardener was very angry and shouted again, "For a whole year I've taken care of these trees. You have no right to take the fruits without my permission. So come down at once." The stranger on the tree answered, "Why should I come down? This is the garden of God and I am the servant of God. So I have the right to pick these fruits and you should not interfere between the work of God and his servant." The gardener was very surprised at his answer and thought of a plan. He called his son and said, "Go bring a rope and get this man down from the tree." His son brought the rope and the gardener ordered him to tie the stranger to the tree. The gardener then took a stick and started to beat the stranger. The stranger began to scream, "Why are you beating me? You have no right to do this." The gardener paid no attention and continued beating him. The stranger screamed, "Don't you fear God? Why are you beating an innocent man?" The gardener answered, "Why should I fear? This wood is in my hand belongs to God and I am too and the servant of God. So I have nothing to fear and you shouldn't interfere with the work of God and his servant." The stranger hesitated and then spoke, "Wait, don't beat me. I'm sorry for taking the fruit. This is your garden and I should seek your permission before taking the fruits. So please forgive me and set me free." The gardener smiled and said, "Since you have now realized the mistake, I will forgive you. But remember that God has given all his servants brains. So every person's deeds are in his own hands." Then the gardener untied him and let him go free. La la la. To tell the truth, "Who did this?" asked my teacher. 30 children tried to think about not only what they had done, but also what our teacher may have found out. "Who did this?" asked my teacher once more. She wasn't really asking. She was demanding an answer. She seldom became angry, but she was this time. She held up a piece of a broken glass and asked, "Who broke this window?" Oh, I thought. I was the one who broke the window. I had not done it intentionally, but it caused by an errant throw of a baseball. I was working on my knuckleball. It needed more work. Why did it have to be me? It wasn't really my fault. If I admitted guilt, I would be in a lot of trouble. How would I be able